I don't go the emotional touchy-feely. And when I feel manipulated, I'll get ticked off, quite honestly. And so I'm like maybe some of you. I've seen these commercials. I've seen these things on TV about all this hunger and starving and AIDS and yada, yada. And I thought, well, it's probably like Haiti. They send all these millions of dollars down there, and not a soul knows where it's at or where it went. A lot of money went. What did it help? We don't know. So I'm very skeptical. But several years ago, I was asked to preach at a conference there for a week in South Africa. Before I was preached at that conference, I worked with some missionaries locally, and they took me out to places that forever has changed my life. Because for the first time, what I saw in magazine, what I saw on the television, I saw in front of my face. And I absolutely could not believe it. All the stuff about AIDS, all this stuff about, listen, there are people, hundreds and thousands, dying every month from mosquito bites. We get a little bothered when the bug gets in, a little intestinal virus, the little diarrhea thing. We get all worked up about that. People are dying by the thousands in that place. I went into a home, several little homes or huts, half the size of this green room, half the size of any of our bathrooms. That was their home. And when I came up to meet them, there was no mother, there was no father. They had died of AIDS, and all that was left was an older sister of about 10, 2 or 3 other kids, all the way down from about 7 or 8, 5, all the way down to about 2 years old. They lived by themselves, they cared for themselves, and their grandparents who lived down the road would occasionally, at least once a day, I was assuming, as best I could understand, would come and check on them and make sure they were good and okay. You see, we don't get that stuff. We get worked up when there's a long line at Walmart. I do. I lose patience. I go somewhere else. I love Walmart, but the long lines stink. And I think, dear God, have I really lost the perspective on all this stuff? These people don't have a Walmart. All this stuff they're saying is true. And believe it or not, more of it's happening around us than you realize. And I must tell you that when peace, the whole peace plan came to fruition in me, it changed my life forever. When I went into those homes, I'll never forget going into the home of I think he was about 20, 21 years old, a man who had had AIDS. And folks, I'm telling you, I've been around a lot of sickness. My wife's a nurse. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of death. I have never held a man that did not feel human. This man did not feel. You've heard people talk, they're just skin and bones. I'm not kidding you. That's all there was. In fact, I had to hold him and hug him to keep him straight up. He had been introduced to Christ a number of months ago, and the village heard we were there, and he wanted us to know how thankful we was. That's why I went to his home. 2 days later, he died. I went and saw a mother who had AIDS herself. She was pregnant. The baby had AIDS. Her husband had already died of AIDS. Not long after we left the village, she died and her baby with her. I've never been to a village where the funeral home door never closes. It is a perpetual in and out, in and out. There's always, every day, every moment, every second, everything going on. Someone has died, someone's being buried. Someone has died, someone is being buried. And those are the lucky ones. The other hundreds of thousands just kicked into a hole. And we're wondering why Jesus said, go into all the world. And for some of us, we're afraid to get down past Indianapolis. Or Chicago is like a real mission field. Well, it probably is. But it's not the whole world. So my challenge to you as we close and I'm going to ask you if you would to bow your head. And I want you to think of nothing else but you and God. This isn't about what your family can do. This isn't about what our church can do, because that'll come. But I ask you, I don't want to say I dare you, because maybe that's not the right word to say, but I want to challenge you to do this one thing. If you can do this honestly before God, I want you to just simply say, God, I want to be a part of the peace plan. And would you use me? Would you use me? I guarantee you that if you will come to the place in your life that you're sick and tired of church as usual, as things as usual, and say, God, I want to do what Jesus said. I want to go into all the world. I want to be a part of a plan that has no denominational preferences, no denominational hierarchy. It just says to you and to me, go. And if you're willing to commit to that, would you just say, God, I don't know how. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. How could I ever go somewhere else to share the gospel and to meet the needs of people? I don't have all of it. And that's exactly where God wants you to be. He wants you to know that getting this done is not dependent on you. All God wants from you and me is obedience.
This is the air I breathe. This is the air I breathe. Your holy presence living in me. This is my daily bread. This is my daily bread. Your very word spoken to me.